All right, this exercise is a roll down. This is a really great exercise for continuing to train that core and get full core involvement instead of letting those hip flexors be overused, okay? So as we're prepping for this, I want you to think about a string of pearls, right? And if we've got a string of pearls and you put one end on the ground and you go to lower the rest of it, one of those pearls hits the ground at a time, right? Nothing up at this end of the pearls hits before everything before it does, right? So that's going to be kind of the idea that we're trying to capture with that spine as Dominique's working this roll down. You want to scoot forward just a little bit? There we go. Okay, so to start, we're going to put heels, knees, and hips right in line with one another. Little baby squeeze here so that you're not letting those legs fall open. Yep. And then a little bit of pressure down through the heels. And you might even create a little bit of traction from the feet coming back towards the tush, right? That'll help turn those hamstrings on a little bit. And notice as she did that, she even got a little bit of scoop through that belly without it being hip flexor driven, okay? Can you show like a hip flexor rock for me? Okay, if you feel like you've created a lot of curve, but you feel it pressure or tension in the hips, you are overusing those hip flexors, okay? So we want to think as we're getting set here, pulling tall, okay? So also, as she's sitting here again, her glutes tend to be sometimes a little bit hyperactive, and in this moment they're working harder than her hamstrings are and then her adductors are. So we're going to squeeze together again just a little bit. The more the hams and glutes work, often the more the adductors have to work, and when you're doing this well, you should feel a little bit of juxtaposition between the two, right? They're always kind of working together, okay? All right, so little pull back with the heels, drive the heels in, knees slightly together. Good. Taking a big breath, and on your exhale, hollowing from the belly button without letting those hip flexors engage. Good. If you're feeling those hip flexors engage, you're probably not using enough hamstring or core. Good. And as you can, you are then trying to roll back one vertebra at a time, creating a nice curve as you go. Good. Length through the head. Yes. So as odd as it might seem, yes, you want to be pushing the head back, but not looking up, right? And if you're having a hard time finding that, you can take your hands behind your head and then just create a little bit of pressure into the hands. That gets a little bit more difficult because you've got more weight back here. Good. So as Dominique's going, she's pointing to me because it's time to show. She's at her end right here, right? She's feeling that good vibration. Relax the neck. Good. If she were to go any further than this, she would end up falling through a section of her spine, right? So nice curve, one pearl at a time, and then whole chunk before she's able to go down any further. Good. So that's where you want to pause, right? When you get right to the end of what your capacity is, we're going to pause and hold that there, because in that place, it's an isometric contraction. And in an isometric contraction, you actually gain strength 10 degrees on either side. Good. Long. Yes, you got it. A little bit more hollow through here. That's it. You got it, girl. Yes. Very good. So you can see that she's using her hands a little bit to guide. Once she got to her end, she's taken them off. Good. She's thinking through all the various cues. And then once she gets to the point where she is going to fail, she can either grab a hold of her legs and pull herself up, or let herself kind of fall all the way down to relax. Okay? So as you are working that roll down in time, when you hold those isometric contractions, you'll gradually be able to go a little bit deeper without failing, right? As we're working from top down, we're also going to work from bottom up. So go ahead and lay back again, but this time lay all the way back. Positioning is the same. So heels, knees, and hips in line with one another. Knees pointed straight up, so that might mean engaging a little bit through here. Pressure through the heels and a slight drag back towards the tush. Good, nice long through the spine. Having that idea of pushing your head back. So on the roll ups, it's actually super helpful to have your hands back there, because it's very easy on the roll ups to tuck your chin and really try to lead with your head, and we don't want that. So go ahead and Create that pressure back into your head down. Good. And now, one vertebra at a time, she is lifting from the top down. And so again, this should be a nice smooth movement, keeping the head pushing back. So there's still some space between your chin and your chest, but back with the head so the deep neck flexors are activated. Choop. Here. Okay, pause a second. We're gonna see if I can coach you on this one a little bit better. Elbows in. Okay. Already, you're here. So open that up a little bit more. Now, push the base of your skull back down. Yes, that's it. Do you feel that length and that bit of space between your chest? Yes. Okay, great. Now, using your core, you're bringing your ribs closer to your hips, and that's what's lifting you off of the mat, one vertebra at a time. Okay, you might not make it very far with this, and that's okay. Again, once you get to the point where you're at your top and you're feeling that good vibration through there, you're going to pause, hold that isometric contraction for as long as you can until you fail. Eventually, the roll down and the roll up will meet, and you will be able to go smoothly top to bottom and bottom to top. As you're training this, the top to bottom is you'll actually have more strength in the top to bottom because it's a lengthening contraction. You actually have more strength in a lengthening contraction. So don't be surprised if you can get further down and be able to hold easier than you can coming from the bottom up. And there we have roll downs and roll ups. The roll ups and roll downs are really great for starting to incorporate that crunching motion back into an exercise routine where you've been working on healing a diastasis recti. Diastasis recti is when the abdominal wall is split a little bit, and you can see it as you start to crunch up. There will be a coning. And so if you ever notice that your belly seems like it's coning up as you're doing a crunch, you probably are doing it incorrectly. And so typically, we stay away from crunches when healing diastasis recti, but it's because you're generally doing it poorly and incorporating other things. So if you feel like as you're doing your crunch or your sit-up, you are lifting your feet off of the ground, you throw yourself through a particular section of your sit-up, etc., or you're overusing your neck to bring you up into your sit-up, those are all ways that you end up cheating your core and creating that split or allowing that split to persist.